What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes, and today we got update 2.3, which gives us an option to refine Eirika and Leo's weapons, and it also gives Soren a new legendary weapon. So in this video, I'm gonna be analyzing their new refines and giving you guys the best builds for those refines. So let's begin with Eirika. Eirika always struggled compared to her brother in terms of relevancy, who had a superior offensive power, and Eirika always got overshadowed by other power-crept red sword units, and Ephraim also got a Refinery before her, which turned out to be one of the best in the game offensively, and Eirika finally got a Refine today, which makes her very unique. Sieglin Refine has got Hone Attack 3 built into it, similar to Ephraim's Refine. The extra effect gives her Spur bonus during the combat by copying the highest bonus on allies within 2 spaces. The stat bonuses are calculated individually, and this description is pretty confusing, so let's take a look at how this works. For example, we have got Seth here, who has got +4 attack bonus, +4 speed bonus, and +3 defense bonus, and La Rochelle has got +6 attack bonus, +2 speed, and +4 resistance. So if these two are within 2 spaces of Eirika, she will copy the highest bonus in that particular stat. So she copies La Rochelle's +6 attack rather than copying Seth's +4 attack, and copies all other stat bonuses similarly, and Seth and La Rochelle need to have visible buffs, and when Eirika copies those buffs, she applies them in the combat as spur bonuses, meaning that you cannot panic ploy Eirika who has copied the buffs, as they can be only applied in the combat. This means that you can stack up visible buffs like Hone Attack and Hone Speed on Eirika with her copied buffs. If you still have confusion, then this explanation on the screen should clear it, I hope. So as I've said before, the allies of Eirika need to have visible buffs, which are represented in blue text in game for her to copy that onto herself. This doesn't mean that Eirika can only copy the buffs she gives out herself. She can copy any buff on an ally within 2 spaces as long as they've got visible buffs. The second point on the screen is just another example of the one I gave with La Rochelle and Seth. She will copy the highest value buff of that particular stat. Keep in mind, she will not stack up those buffs. For example, if ally A gives +4 attack and ally B gives +6 attack, she's not going to be having +10 attack. She will simply copy the highest +6 buff and then go from there. Although Eirika can only copy visible buffs, after copying she only uses them in the combat, meaning that they will not be visible to you and they can act as a spur buff, so you can easily stack Hone skills and buff her even more. Now because of this, she becomes a buff bot that appreciates being used with units who can buff her as well. Tactic skills are fantastic on her teammates because she will give +4 attack buff with Sieglin, which she will copy, and if that ally has got attack tactic, for example, she will in total have +10 attack. So this is a really good unit that can act as an ally for Eirika and pretty much become her best friend because of Peshcats and how it functions, and so is Brave Lucina, who can support her with her drive buffs. Performing Arts Azura gives her massive buffs with U-Drawer, and it works really well if you want to use Eirika offensively with a Dancer, and Lind and Dalthea also give her +6 attack buff, which is really great. She works amazingly well on mixed movement emblem teams, so if a unit has got Fortified Cavalry and the other unit has got Hone Cavalry, they will give each other the +6 boost, and then Eirika will copy +6 buff to all of her stats, which is absolutely incredible. But still, if you do not want to use another buff bot with a buff bot like Eirika herself, then she can at the very least copy +4 attack and +4 speed buff, which she herself is going to be giving to her allies. So I hope that clears up her refined description. Eirika functions better within 2 spaces of her allies, while her brother, Legendary Ephraim, works better with less units within 2 spaces. Honestly, it was really hard to make Eirika good in face of power creep units when she has really low attack, but now, because she can copy buffs, she can be a fantastic unit and reach somewhat to the levels of those power creep units, at least in terms of stats after copying those buffs. Another good thing is that Eirika is more accessible than any other buff bot like Ephraim or Brave Lucina. She can appear at 4-star rarity, so if you want to invest into her, then you can go with +speed Boon and -HP Bane. Plus attack is also pretty good IV for her because her attack is low and you could never really go wrong by giving her more attack. Now let's take a look at some of her builds. The first set can be run to give buffs to all of the stats of an ally, and obviously if she's going to be rallying a unit, then that means she will not be able to initiate a combat in that turn, but this can be used for baiting out green units in the enemy phase, and Eirika can give herself the defensive buffs needed for that, and it can work with her in the enemy phase. Fury is the best budget option for slot A pretty much and helps her get into the desperation range. Eirika at the very least will copy plus for speed buff and plus for attack buff from the buff she's gonna be giving herself, so she reaches 42 speed after that, which is good enough to use desperation. Defense plus sacred seal can be used to hit even harder, and it's good with her low attack stat. And the second set uses rally defense and has got fortify res on slot C. Hone speed is a sacred seal, and a lot of people do upgrade this compared to fortify defense or fortify res sacred seals, and she gives +4 to all of the stats of an ally, and then she copies that. The third set has got sword breaker, which allows her to check units like Eirika, who are pretty common in arena, and with the third set you can even run triangle depth to make her a better green check. Eirika can also run tactic skills like defense and res tactic to give bigger buffs to her allies and in turn herself. And in future, speed tactic, if it's gonna be released, it can be run on slot C and it will definitely be her best slot C option. It's also good if her allies also pack tactic skills, as they could give bigger buffs to Eirika, and if they release a tactic skill as a sacred seal, then you can even run that on her sacred seal slot. The fifth set is a distant counter set, and after copying the buffs of her allies, Eirika becomes a pretty good candidate for distant counter. This can also be used for arena scoring because distant counter is a 300 SP costing skill. The sixth set has got Wrath, and it increases her damage output quite a lot, which is always good, and before she's in the Wrath range, she can make use of Quick Repose Sacred Seal, and distant defense can also be run for her Sacred Seal slot. Builds are fine with Eirika, but the main thing you have to focus with her is your team building. As I said before, using tactic skills, other buff bots, or mixed movement emblem teams is the best way to make use of her. Now let's take a look at Soren. He gets Wind's Brand as his new legendary weapon, and this can be learned by Soren at only 5-star rarity. This tome has got the skill Chill Attack 3 built into it, and it does inflict -7 attack on a unit of the enemy team who has got the highest attack. This is really amazing. Shield speed skill is useless against defensive enemy phase teams who are slow, and shield defense doesn't really do much against hyper offense teams who already have low defense units, but chill attack, which Soren has got in his weapon, is going to be always useful. Soren isn't the bulkiest unit, so -7 attack on the enemy is a huge thing for him and for his survival. -7 attack can neutralize monsters like Grima, Effie, Winter Crom, and similar units who have got a very high attack stat. -7 attack debuff is also great for tanks and enemy phase units used on the same team as Soren, and help them stay in the quick repose range by taking less damage, and Ike of course fits that criteria perfectly. He can use Soren's -7 attack and take even less damage. A lot of people thought that Wind's Brand would have a Brave Tome effect because in Telia's game, Soren has got the skill Adept, so they could have tried to mimic that, but he has got this skill in his weapon instead. His legendary weapon gives him Owl Tome effect on his tome, which is quite weird and out of character for Soren. It's not like the refines we have got for Zephiel, Marth, or Crom, which represent them as a character. This refine forces him to be near other people, and Soren is not someone like Crom. He doesn't want to be near people, so it's quite funny that he has got this effect which is complete opposite of his personality, and I guess it's to show his development or something like that. Honestly, who knows? But this Owl Tome refine means that he has to play more as an enemy phase unit, because Owl Tomes function better in the enemy phase where you could easily position your units and take hits from the enemy or bait out the enemy, and it doesn't really work the best in the player phase compared to an offensive tome like Blade Tome. And Soren is pretty good in player phase, so this Owl Tome doesn't really help him all that much with that playstyle. Soren does have pretty good resistance, so he could definitely make use of this Owl Tome, and I guess he can use that to be a mage tank. His defense is really low, so usually people run close counter on their Owl Tome users, and it will be really hard to justify that on Soren because of his low 17 defense, so it's not really recommended to run. Soren can also appear at 4-star rarity, so obviously try to go with a plus speed IV Soren, and minus defense is his best bane. Plus attack is also good, but plus speed allows him to prevent doubles from very fast units and double other units. Now let's take a look at his builds. The first build is a good budget build with Fury and Vantage. With Owl Tome buffs and Fury, Soren looks pretty good in the enemy phase with good attack, high speed, and very high resistance with distant defense 3 sacred seal. The second set utilizes the chill combo of his Wind's Brand and chill speed, neutralizing potentially slow armored units who have got very high attack with chill attack in his tome, and crippling extremely fast units like Eirika and Brave Lyn with chilled speed. This debuff support can be great for your allies, and it's pretty similar to Gunthro's Chilling Seal, but these two skills on Soren have got different triggers. Bond skills with Altomes have got great synergy, so they can certainly be run, but they are pretty expensive to run from 5-star units, and some of them are also seasonal units. And since we do not have Fury on here, you can even run Quick Riposte Sacred Seal. Mirror Stance from Female Morgan can be run on a Slade as well, and double distance defense for making him an ultimate mage tank can also work. But if you don't want to change his playstyle, then you could stick with this player face set with the 6th set and run Desperation and use Distant Defense Sacred Seal when need be to tank some hits every now and then. Now let's take a look at Leo. Leo gets a refined his Brynhildr that completely removes the gravity effect, most likely because healers completely outclass him in that regard because they can have access to the Dazzling Staff Refine and they cannot get counterattacked back like Leo. And now he gets an effect which mimics the effect of Brynhildr Tome from Fire Emblem Fates and reduces the damage of the first magical hit by 30%, and the extra effect of this weapon gives him Earth Sweep, which is similar to the effect which Myrrh has on her Great Flame weapon. But Leo only needs 1 more defense than the enemy to proc this, unlike Myrrh who needs 5 more defense, but Leo's effect only works against ranged foes. So if Leo has got 1 point higher defense than his ranged enemy, then he can prevent their counterattack and not get doubled, and this is fantastic for him because he has got really low speed and he's gonna get doubled quite a lot without this, and he's got Quick Riposte on his base kit, so he can not get doubled himself but double other people with Quick Riposte. He can be a really good ranged tank, and because he can prevent doubles, he will only take a single hit from mages, and then that single hit's damage is also reduced by 30%, so it really makes him a really good mage tank. So it does have good synergy, and obviously with this refine you do not want to have a minus defense IV Leo because then it will reduce the chances of proccing his Brynhildr skill. So let's take a look at his builds. He doesn't really have too many of them, and the first build is a budget build. Leo doesn't exactly hit very hard, so Triangle Adept could help him do much more damage to green units and green mages. Distant Defense Sacred Seal is the best thing you could run on Leo, so please do run it if you're going to be using Leo with this refine, and it bumps his defense to 31, which is pretty good for his weapon effect and to function against a lot of the range units. His second set is much more expensive and it has got double distant defense, which gives him 37 defense and 42 res in the enemy face against ranged foes, which is so much, and there are not many ranged foes who will have higher defense than that, so he could easily prevent doubles and double attack them himself with Quick Riposte. Iceberg is a very strong special with that high res, but in a single combat where he prevents a double, he could fully charge this up and then finish off the enemy or weaken them quite a lot by proccing Iceberg. Make sure to use Leo with units who can give him defense buff in the form of Fortified Cavalry, Drive Defense, Defense Tactic, or Fortified Defense so that he can proc his weapon's effect most of the time. So that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I would really appreciate if you could drop a like, and if you haven't already, then please make sure to subscribe for more Fire Emblem Heroes content. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.